fasting, the keto diet, if it fits your macros, paleo. All of these trendy diet terms might sound exciting, and maybe you've heard about them, or someone that you know is telling you how it worked so well for them. You're trying to figure out if it's right for you. Today, I am breaking down 3 popular buzzworthy diets to let you know what they are, why they might be good, why they might be bad, and whether or not they actually work. Hey, what's up? I'm Melanie Ash of MelanieAshFitness.com and also of Fitness Evolution Personal Training Studio here in Columbus, Ohio. I'm a personal trainer, a fitness nutrition specialist, a weight management specialist, and a women's wellness expert. And I get asked all the time about some of these popular trendy diets and buzzwords like keto, like paleo. People want to know if these diets work. And sometimes we're not even really sure what they are. Today I'm going to pick 3 of the that I think are the most popular right now that maybe you're seeing and hearing a lot about. I'm going to let you know what they are, why I think they might be good, why they might not be good, whether or not they could work for you, and then it's going to be up to you to make your own decision about whether or not it's something that you want to try. So the first diet or way of eating that I want to talk about is intermittent fasting. So what is intermittent fasting? Basically, it refers to periods of time where you go for an extended period without eating. Now, almost everyone intermittently fasts when you sleep at night. We don't tend to think of it that way because we are asleep. But if you eat dinner at 7 p.m. and you don't have breakfast until 7 a.m., you intermittently fast for 12 hours every single day. So what some people are doing, they're extending that window. So they may not eat until noon. Or maybe they go 24 hours without eating 1 day a week or 1 day a month. This is intermittent fasting. It refers to eating all of your calories for the day in one specific window of time and not eating anything. I'm talking just water during the other period of time. Why is this good? Why would intermittent fasting be something we might want to do? Well, it's been shown that for some people it can have a positive effect on your metabolism. It can improve the body's response to insulin, which is your fat storage hormone, your fat releasing hormone that releases fat for energy. So it can make you better at using carbohydrates and sugars and things for energy. And it has been shown to have some positive effects for weight loss. If we're fasting for a period of time and we're not eating as many calories during that other window, maybe you eat less calories because you're fasting, then you are probably going to lose weight. So it does have some scientifically researched back positive effects. Why might intermittent fasting be bad? Well, it's not been shown to be quite as effective for women, and that's because a female body tends to respond in a different way to what it perceives as starvation or a limiting of calories. So the female body can increase cortisol and have a very specific stress response when you go for an extended period of time without eating. Same thing with low-calorie diets. So intermittent fasting isn't always as effective for women. And I caution people against adding anything to your repertoire or taking up any style of eating that could cause you to feel more stressed or to feel very deprived. So if you decide to intermittently fast and it's making you, kind of upset that you can't eat, you're watching the clock and it's stressing you out, or you feel shaky and you're like, when do I get to eat? That's not going to be a good thing for you. It's raising your cortisol and it's adding stress to your life. The other thing is, if you're going for a long period of time without eating to fast, and then when it's time for you to break the fast, you're starving, and so you tend to eat a lot more than you would if you spaced your meals out, then intermittent fasting is not going to be effective for you because you're probably going to end up eating even more calories than you otherwise would. The question is, does intermittent fasting work? Yes and no. So there are definitely people who have had great results with intermittent fasting. There are people who prefer to eat this way, who find that they don't have to think about food quite so much. They feel a lot better. It gives them more energy. They don't feel as weighted down. They don't have to worry about what time is it, did I eat? Some people really like it and will thrive on it. Some people don't. If you're the type of person, like I said, who has blood sugar issues, who's going to be shaky, who's going to be cranky, who's going to be stressed out by having to go, 16 to 18 hours without eating, then it's probably going to have negative effects and it's probably not going to be very productive for you. So intermittent fasting, yes and no. It depends on you. You have to know yourself and determine if that's a way of eating that is going to allow you to be successful and also to feel good. So number 2, I want to talk about the keto diet. So keto, or ketogenesis, refers to an extremely low carb diet. I'm talking like 20 grams or less of carbs a day, a low to moderate protein diet, and a very high intake of healthy fats, things like avocados, butter, coconut oil, olive oil, and so forth. This is something that's really popular right now, and there are certain people who love keto. It's actually very similar to paleo, but it's much lower carbohydrate, and it actually refers to very specific intake amounts of carbohydrate, protein, and fat. So it takes it a little bit further. Here's why it's good. In fact, some research has shown that a keto style of eating can be very effective for people who are in a disease state. So cancer patients and people dealing with something like a chronic disease, sugar tends to feed the cancers, and when they put people on these ketogenic diets, they tend to have good results. There's some research to that. Another way these kinds of diets have been used are with children who have epilepsy and have been shown to be very, very good for people with those conditions. So there's some scientific evidence that depending on what a person might be dealing with and certain conditions within the body, a ketogenic way of eating can have very good results. Is this a magic tool for weight loss? No. So here's the deal. It's a low-carb diet. It just is a very, very low-carb diet, and so many people will have an initial weight loss, as you would with any low-carb diet, because you're losing carbohydrate, you're losing water in the body. It will then subsequently, for many people, zap your energy. My concern with the keto diet is that under 20 grams of carbs allows very little room for any fruit and not even a lot of vegetables, and I'm a big proponent of eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. So I have some concern about taking carbohydrates that low to the point where you're even having to limit your fruit and vegetable intake. Some people are going to feel great on it. Many, many people won't feel good on it. Many, many people are going to be lethargic, sluggish, low energy, and it's also really, really hard to stick to keto. Hey, Julie. It's really, really hard to stick to keto, and Julie can relate to this one because she and I have talked about this a lot. A keto diet, when you have to go out or you have social events, it makes it very, very, very difficult. No carbohydrates. You cannot have a cookie. I mean, you're going to put yourself over your daily grams of carbs. So it involves a lot of tracking that can be difficult for many people, and just you really have to think about it a lot. Hey, Lynn, good to see you. So does it work? In the short term, yes, I think a keto diet does work for some water loss, and you may even see some initial fat loss. I think most people will stall out. Most people will find it very difficult to stick to, and that they don't feel great on it, which means long term they're not going to have success, because you can't have success with anything that you cannot stick to long term. I don't think it's realistic for many people. So again, everything can work for someone, but not everything works for everyone. So it might work for one person, but I think for most people probably not. It could be something to give it a try, as my client Julie did, and found that it just wasn't right for her, but maybe it's right for you. But you have to try it first before you determine that it's a magic pill or that it's a secret for weight loss. And the last diet or way of eating is called If It Fits Your Macros, and that is quite a mouthful, isn't it? If it fits your macros. That refers to staying within an allotted calorie and macronutrient goal every day. And macronutrients are carbs, fats, and proteins. So it does involve tracking. It does involve paying close attention to what you're eating at every meal. You've got to have this many grams of protein today. You've got to stay under this many grams of carbs. It means you don't always get to eat just whatever. You have to make sure that you're prioritizing your macronutrients and getting the right amount. But it's like a bank account in the fact that you can make room for things like sweets and treats and things that you enjoy, so long as it fits within your macros, just like balancing a checkbook. You make room for things, you take some other things out. So it's a little bit more flexible than many styles of eating. So why is it good? For that very reason, because it allows freedom to eat what you like, and to make room for social events and vacations and things that, when you're following a stricter meal plan or a stricter way of eating, are a lot harder to stick to. So it doesn't have you feeling very deprived. It doesn't have you sticking to a very small list of foods. It can be very good for long-term adherence, which, as I've said, is going to be very key in whether or not a diet works for you. Why is it bad? Well, for some people, too much choice can be overwhelming. Some people would rather have more of a detailed list of things to eat and not have the freedom of choice. I know that for some people that sounds crazy, but especially if you're just starting out, if it's like eat whatever you want, but you've got to track it and you stay within these macro goals, some folks are going to find that's like way too much. Like they don't want to have to think about it quite so much. Others will tend to not prioritize higher nutrient foods and protein and fiber to make room for less nutrient dense foods like sweets and treats and cookies. So it can go the other way too, where you're not really eating the best things, but you're staying within your calories and macros. And while you might still have weight loss, in my opinion, you want to make sure that you're getting enough fiber, that you're getting enough protein, and that you have a good, healthy, balanced diet while still making room for those treats. Does If It Fits Your Macros work? Yes, it absolutely works. And this is the style of eating that I recommend most for my clients, especially to get you started. If you've never paid a lot of attention to nutrition, you're kind of not sure how to balance meals, it's a great way to get an understanding of what a serving of protein, a serving of carbs, a serving of fat looks like at each meal spread throughout the day, how much you should be eating. And then eventually you can go to a more intuitive approach that doesn't involve tracking, but you still have that knowledge of understanding which foods fall into which category, how to make swaps, how to make room for things. You can kind of, it's almost like, if you've gotten really good financially at balancing your checkbook, you kind of know how much money we have, where we have a little wiggle room, and you don't have to balance everything down to that every last cent. You always want to start with the foundation and check back in from time to time to make sure you're on track. But it gives you a little bit more wiggle room to not have to be quite so strict and quite so dedicated. So I think If It Fits Your Macros absolutely does work. I think it's probably the most realistic of all three of these ways of eating, and probably the most attainable for most people, and a really good place to start. So those are 3 diets that you've been hearing about. I've broken down why they might be good, why they might be bad, whether or not they work. And I want you to remember there are just no magic diets. There's no secrets. There's no, this is the one diet that works. Even out of these 3 diets, you still have to have a calorie deficit and consistency to that diet or way of eating over time in order to get weight loss results. Anything can work for anyone, but not everything will work for everyone. Nutrition is super, super individual. And some people are going to find that intermittent fasting makes them go crazy, keto makes them feel like crap, and it makes it too hard to have a social life, and If It Fits Your Macros might be a little bit too much work and involve too much tracking. That's going to be the way it is for some folks. Other people might say, hey, intermittent fasting, I don't have to think about eating so much. I can just, eat dinner and stay within my calories for the day. I'm good. Some people might feel great on keto and just really don't want to worry about eating a lot of carbohydrates. And then some people thrive on If It Fits Your Macros because they like having that roadmap to follow and tracking and feeling really good eating that specific amount of macronutrients. The only diet that really works is one that can be followed as a lifestyle and one that you can stick to consistently long term. So anything can be good if you can do it for a long period of time. But you got to try it first and find out if it works for you before you determine whether or not you should move on. And I always recommend sticking with something for at least 4 weeks. You might find out right away that, you feel like crap on keto or that intermittent fasting makes you crazy. But if you can stick to it for 8 weeks, see if you get results, see if it's something that works well for you, then you can make your choice from there. If you guys have any questions, I am here. I see a couple people I know are on. Julie's here, Lynn is here, Michelle is here, all ladies whom I know very well. So it's great to see you guys. I'm going to throw up my Facebook here really fast to see if you guys have any questions. And I'm new to this, so there it is. I'm new to this, so I'm just using a new app today to do this on my computer so I can see if you guys can still see me, and you can. I don't see any questions. If you think of anything, let me know. I'm new to this, so I'm just using a new app. As you guys are watching, the sound came up. Be sure to sign up for that 30-day ab challenge if you haven't already. We start again July 1st. It's going to be awesome. We're going to go hard starting July 1st. There's a diet plan to stick to. There's a calendar of exercises for you to follow every day for 30 days. People are losing up to 3 pounds in 3 weeks. 5 pounds in 3 weeks. It has great results. If you can stick to it, it's a really good way to kind of get things kick-started if that's what you're looking to do. So check that out. I'll put a link here with the video. Thanks so much for watching. Hi, Kathy. Good to have you on. Hi, Heather. You guys are all giving me the thumbs up, which is awesome. So hopefully you found this informative and helpful, and maybe cleared up some confusion about some of these popular fad diets and whether or not they're good and whether or not they're bad. Like I've said, anything can be good. I'm not going to say any of them are necessarily bad, but not all are going to work for everyone, so you kind of have to determine what works best for you. Veronica asks, can one ruin one's metabolism? That's kind of a weighted question, and there's not a yes or no answer. Anytime that you lose weight, you will slow your resting metabolic rate, which is basically your metabolism, for lack of getting into the science of it. The larger you are, the more energy you use. The smaller you are, the less energy you use. When you lose weight and your body starts to adapt to being asked to do more, like over-exercising, and given less fuel to sustain that exercising, it will slow down your metabolism. It's its way of saying, it's like low power mode on your iPhone. So when your battery gets really low on your iPhone says, did you want to go into low power mode? Yes, okay. So then the iPhone starts conserving its energy. If you ever notice, it goes to sleep faster, the light's not as bright. It's shutting down non-essential functions because it has less battery life. The same thing happens in your body when you cut your calories really low and when you over-exercise. Your body goes into low power mode and it is forced to choose between functions that it needs to stay alive and other functions like metabolism, which is basically the burning of food and stored fat for energy, which creates weight loss. It will start to shut that down. Anybody who has a huge amount of weight loss, if you guys saw the study that was done on people who participated in The Biggest Loser, and it found that these people lost an enormous amount of body weight and body fat, but their resting metabolic rates dropped hugely and did not recover, even though they were at a healthy weight, even though they stayed at that weight, even when they gained weight and got bigger again and were larger people, their resting metabolic rate did not go back up to where one would have expected. So there is some evidence that yes, losing weight too quickly, pushing too hard with intense exercise and extreme low-calorie diets can, I'm not going to say necessarily ruin your metabolism, but it can affect your metabolism, and it's going to affect whether or not you're able to keep losing weight and how well your body uses energy. So one way to avoid that is to go slow. Be realistic, a very small calorie deficit, and don't overdo it with exercise. Be patient. 1 pound to a half a pound of weight loss per week, okay? Julie asks, what's the best thing to eat if you're hungry before bed? A little bit of protein and some fat. Carbs before bed are not... this idea that you should never eat carbs after dark is silly. However, you are going to bed into a fasted state for an extended period of time, and you're not going to be very active. And carbohydrates are used best when we are active. So right before you go to bed, a really good idea is to have some protein and some healthy fat, because these are going to satiate you longer, and they are going to be digested more slowly, which means that they're going to kind of sit with your bodies more slow to break down. Carbohydrates in the bloodstream that aren't used can be stored as fat. So I always recommend like a casein, if you're someone who's okay with eating dairy, a casein protein powder, not a whey. A whey is more processed, more broken down. And casein is slower digesting. It's a little bit thicker. It'll sit with you longer. Something like that, maybe some Greek yogurt, even a little glass of chocolate milk with some almonds, some almond butter, maybe a little bit of peanut butter. Something like that is a really good tiny little snack. Like you make it like a pudding and have a little bit right before bed, just like 100 to 150 calories. And 1 piece of dark chocolate is okay, because it'll take care of that little bitty sweet tooth. So hopefully that was helpful. Thank you, Julie, for the question. You're very welcome, Veronica. I hope that was helpful. All right, guys, I do have to run. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the great questions. If you think of something else, feel free to pop it here in the comments, and I'll try to get to that either next week or later today. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.